And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Stuff That Matters. Today we are joined by Carlos Grant. He is the Executive Director for Alternative Programs in the Rock Hill School Systems. Carlos, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you for having me on this conversation.
And before we get officially started, Bree Huckabee as well joining us for the first time. Thank you so much, our community liaison here in South Carolina. She knows Carlos quite well. They've interacted quite a bit over the last year or so. Matt and I hold it down here as Mike O'Connor is not with us today. He had a prior commitment up in Raleigh. We're excited to have this discussion.
So, Carlos, what brought you to Rock Hill? Why don't you start there? Because this is you're new to the community, new to Rock Hill schools.
Well, kind of
already making an impact. Are you coming? Yeah,
coming back home. Actually, I started my educational career here in Rock Hill early 2000s as a teacher.
Okay.
And
what'd you teach?
I taught high school. Taught students.
Yes.
You wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
But by way of teaching students, I taught them science, particularly biology.
Okay.
Taught both at Rock Hill High and Northwestern. And met my wife here, started my family in Rock Hill, and then we moved away. And so now we're coming back.
Oh, great.
I was previously working in Greenville County schools as a high school principal, and have an opportunity to come back home. You got to come back home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. How did your path towards education get started? Did you always knew you wanted to
Lord,
be a teacher?
no. I did not. Coming out of high school, I thought I wanted to be a physician.
Huh?
A gastroenterologist, to be specific, but only because I had a mentor that was that, and he was a very cool guy.
Okay.
Dressed well, drove a nice car.
Okay.
So I thought I wanted to do that until I went to anatomy class in college, and then now that kind of changed. But no, in all seriousness, I had an opportunity to go to a program at South Carolina State called the Recruitment and Retention of African American Males Teachers. It soon became evolved into the program now called Call Me Mister, which is a collaboration at Clemson and a lot of other colleges around the country now. And it was trying to recruit African American men to come into education because only 2% of all educators look like myself.
Wow.
And
2%.
Only 2%. And after COVID, it's actually 1.7 now. But that became my entry point. And so when I began to go to a lot of these school-based kind of programs, I got very in tune to it, and the rest was history. I changed my major from biology to biology education, and then it just went from there.
And then became a leader, became an administrator. That's a whole different world. How did that jump happen?
Like most things in my life, it's happened because someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, you're doing a great job being a teacher. Can you consider, going this pathway of leading other people to do the things you do?" And became an assistant principal, and then principal and district leader. Just every avenue's been someone tapping you on the shoulder and offering a pathway, a doorway to do something more to impact this field.
What's it been like being back home?
It's been great, man. It's been great. I'm still commuting.
Rock Hill's changing.
Rock Hill's changed a whole lot. It has changed a whole lot. The people that I knew here, some people are here, a lot are not. But family's still here. People that my in-laws are here. So. And then just the area of the community has changed a whole lot. A lot of the growth and economic development looks a little different, but it's for the better. Rock Hill is definitely on the upward trend, I think.
Good. So Bree, how did you and Carlos come to kind of connect? Because I think Carlos got connected to New Hope by way of you, our community liaison, who's out there to build relationships and build our mission. And again, New Hope, we were having this conversation before we went live. We're very, very downstream from a lot of issues. In some cases, we're kind of the last stop for a lot of young people.
Right.
But we're not happy being just that. We actually want the system to be better. If our referrals tanked, that'd be amazing, because that probably means that something good is happening out there.
Right.
So, and Bree's a big part of that. So
yeah. I think Frank was our connect.
Yeah. Frank Palermo.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Just talking to Frank about getting MST into schools, and Frank said, "You need to talk to Carlos." So took Carlos to lunch, and I feel like since then it was immediate connect that I could see the passion that Carlos had for MST, the enthusiasm to get it into the schools. He saw what it could be, how beneficial it could be. So, and he's been a huge MST advocate for us since then.
Yeah. So how did this position, so somebody tapped you on the shoulder about this, was Rock Hill creating something, what's Rock Hill's vision that led you to get this opportunity?
Yeah, so it was another tap on the shoulder. It was Rock Hill School specifically was going through leadership transition, still going through some transitions. We have a new superintendent, Dr. Elder, who has come to our system and just has really revitalized the energy of leadership in this area, and a lot of consistency and does clear vision about how do we support our families and students. And this particular position of being the executive director of alternative learning or alternative programs fit my persona, it fit what I think about pathways for students and what it means to really be a serve for kids, particularly the ones who need a variety of different ways to connect with them. And so it just became a very great connection with all of those different factors playing a role in it.
So for some folks listening, you and I probably know what alternative programs mean kind of instantly.
Sure.
Can you break that out a little bit? I mean, the public school for maybe 80% of kids just kind of works pretty easy and naturally and fine, and they they navigate it without much challenge. But then there's probably maybe I'm getting the percentages wrong, but there's another percentage of kids that it's a struggle and they need more and different and creative and unique opportunities to tap into their potential.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of all of that. I think in general, alternative, and particularly public education space, means that anything that's different than your traditional comprehensive school settings. In Rock Hill, we have 3 comprehensive high schools, we have 5 comprehensive middle schools, and a variety of elementary schools. And so for our district, we have programs that for students who either need individualized attention, they need behavior supports, mental health supports, or just simply a different pathway of getting towards a diploma, these programs exist. We have 5 programs here. One is called Day Treatment, which is a collaboration with the Medical University of South Carolina for students in kindergarten through 8th grade who have some type of behavioral diagnoses or behavioral diagnoses, and we support them with their learning, but also they get therapy at the same time.
Yep.
We have something called T3, which is also at the old Bellevue Elementary. Similar programming with therapy, but it's only for K-5. We have a virtual academy, which doesn't necessarily require any disabilities. It's simply students who say, I need a more tailored approach to learning. Maybe my schedule during the day doesn't allow me to go into an in-person experience. And then we have Aspire Academy for both middle and high school for students who are displaying some behavioral challenges and need some supports, temporary placement. They learn those supports, still be able to get to work towards their diploma and transition back to their traditional high schools. And so all 5 of those programs, the general overview of that is how do we provide students the necessary support they need in an alternative location, still moving towards the same goal of a high school diploma and post-secondary planning.
And some of those are new, because I've been down here for a while, and I've been in Rock Hill, kind of York County for a while, and knew some previous leadership whose vision was to actually have a more robust, array of services. So something like day treatment's in the grand scheme of things, relatively new. So it does seem like Rock Hill's investing differently than it's done in the past.
Actually, programs like day treatment have actually been here for a while. We may have done a very good job marketing it. But what is new for that is the collaboration with MUSC. That part is relatively new. We have a MOU agreement with them, and it's a great partnership. I mean, they provide the therapy support, the experts that can help us, and Rock Hill Schools agreements provide the educational experts that can help move our students, because we don't want to be in a situation where students are getting 100% therapy with no educational support. That doesn't help them as well. So that part is certainly new to us, but the talking about this publicly and people understanding the nuances of an alternative learning, that's the part that we want to do a better job with.
Yeah, nice, awesome. I want to make sure. And again, we're very informal podcast, and so just anything I'm fascinated by what you're doing, and I'd love your take on some other things, but I want to make sure you guys get into it.
Before I ask my question, I'm actually going to quickly adjust his microphone because the other camera angle looks like you have a spider leg sticking out of the back of your head. I'm going to adjust this a little bit.
All right.
Carlos, this might be a bit of a loaded question, but in your time, in your role in working with the Rock Hill School Systems, what are the biggest changes you've noticed or trends over the last few years specifically, especially as it pertains to mental health with kids in schools? What are some of those changes and trends you've noticed?
Yeah, a lot. So I think the most telling trend has been our willingness to openly admit that students need need mental health supports. So much so that Rock Hill Schools has invested to make sure that every school has a mental health counselor at full time, right? And that's some people may say, oh, duh, of course it should, but that's not a common thing in most public school settings. And so districts who make that kind of commitment are saying that we recognize that students need more than just career counseling or counselors that can help students choose the right courses towards a high school diploma, which is one of our priorities in being a part of the South Carolina school systems. But that kind of investment is definitely a thing. And I think that also comes with the mindset of the adults in our system. Like we really understand that there's a need to approach the whole child approach. Academics certainly has its place, but we want to be intentional and curious about all of our students, right? And help them become a well-rounded person and help them to be able to navigate how to deal with your emotions and how to make decisions and how to understand your brain. And those things are all very important for us as a system. And I think seeing the leaders in this system understand that and they're making the right type of investment to make that occur.
Yeah, I was going to ask something similar but different. Because I'd love to, what's going on with our kids nowadays, just in general? Like, what is, we think about this a lot, and I think sometimes people can be prisoners of the moment or prisoners of social, if you spend a lot of time online, it feels like we've never lived in a worse time than now. But then sometimes some data points completely refute that, right? So some of that's anecdotal. We just have access to, sometimes it feels like every day there's a video online of a huge school fight or something. So I bet there's a perception out there of the general public that like schools are more violent than ever or something. But so what's the reality? What's the perception? But I do think there are some real unique challenges that this generation is facing that I didn't face and probably you didn't face in terms of pressures around social media and just all of, like I have a daughter who just turned 11 this week, and do you live in fear about, she's going to go to middle school next year, and I'm just like, oh, sweet baby Jesus, like that scares me. So what are our kids, what are you seeing our kids going through?
I certainly think this generation of students have probably more challenges than we had when we grew up. I mean, certainly having the ability to be connected to the world through the internet and having a computer in your hand 24/7 certainly creates its own challenges that exist there. But I'm also reminded that I think, and I'm gonna talk about myself. I'm 49 years old. My kids think I'm old, but I think I'm still young. I think we sometimes glorify the past more than what the reality was, right? So we will say things like, "Well, back when we were growing up, we didn't do," and I think we forget. Like there were still challenges.
Right.
Students having a hard time in school is not a now thing. Students have always had challenges. There's always been issues. We may not have talked about them as openly as we did in the past.
Right.
And I think that's what's happening now. I think that now we have more access. It's more prevalent. It's in our face. We can't escape it. So the videos that we see online of the fight that happened in the school, it feels so urgent now because we can see it.
Right.
We didn't have the ability to see a fight that happened in the school back in 1983.
But they happened. Right?
They happened. They still happened in school. Kids still met in the bathroom and smoked cigarettes, and they tried to skip school. And I didn't do those things, Bree. You may have done them, but because I'm on camera right now, my parents would kill me. But no, I did those things. Right? I ain't gonna lie.
Full of transcripts.
That's right. That's why they can't get away with anything.
That's all online.
But I think we still have to remember that students have always had challenges in school, and that school has always been a place of learning, but also kids try to escape those things. And I think societal issues have always been here. I think now we just see them more. They're more in our face. The other good part about this is that we're more aware of them now. I think we've learned along the years about how to respond to these things. And so that may feel different to some people. Like where all these supports come from was because we've learned along the way. We are practitioners of pedagogy, right? We're learning how to deal with children and how to deal with these things that come up along the time. So it may feel different to someone who's older like myself.
Right.
But at the same time, I think it's a good thing that we understand how to deal with these issues that arise.
Yeah, I always think that the challenges have a different style to them. Like when I was coming up in high school, like self-harm was a big thing. Cutting, was kind of a thing. Like these kind of fads and trends, but everybody obviously deals with their teenage angst in some way.
Absolutely.
Right? So my parents just drove fast cars and drank cheap beer or something, right? And then like our generation did a little bit different, and my kids will do it a little bit different. But the human thing of having to do something with that journey from, 6 to 16, everybody's got their thing. But I always think that the core need of what young people need doesn't really evolve actually that much.
That's right.
The style of like their coping skills evolve, but what they actually need in terms of just support, love, boundaries to be challenged, need one adult to actually care about them.
Right.
That doesn't change that much.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And I think to your same point, I think one of the things that helps with that, to the point of having an adult that cares for them, it's so needed. Not just at home, but when you have at least one trusted adult in a school setting, it does wonders for children. And I know this because we see the effects of it. When you think about school buildings, who they take on the philosophy of mentorship as a core essence of who they are, and they say that they're going to be at least one adult in this building that's going to be, or every student in this building is going to have one adult that cares for them. It makes so much world of a difference because the student knows they have somebody they can trust when that angst comes up, or I'm thinking something of hurting myself, I can reach out to someone. I think those attitudes allow for students to feel more connected, and for the right practices and policies to be in place for the ultimate benefit of all of our kids.
What I'm curious, Rock Hill, what are you guys doing around the phone issue? I think I read an article, and obviously again these things evolve so fast that our solutions always are going to be late. But I certainly am hearing more and more around, I think, appropriate restrictions around some of that. What does that look like in this community?
First of all, at the state level, there's a state proviso that says that students should not have access to their personal devices throughout the course of a school day.
Okay.
And then the state has left it up to every district to define what does access mean.
Okay.
So for Rock Hill schools, we say that students should not be able to access their phone throughout the course of the day. They're either put away in some locked secure bags, I don't want to promote the business that we use, but there's you might have a vendor that provides a lock bag kind of security thing. That's what we do at Aspire Academy, as an example, that they don't physically can have it throughout the day. And then there's some buildings where they have practices and policies where students have to put them away, and if you bring them out, then there's a response to that. But the overall general feeling is that, or the approach rather, is that we want to limit that throughout the day. And we see a lot of advantages in that, not just the temptation of texting and all those things, but it has increased the social interaction of students, right? You see them talking to each other at lunch, having conversations.
Might be the one time of the day that they're not on their phone.
Yes, when they're not on their phone. It's a beautiful thing to walk into a cafeteria and seeing kids talking to each other.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And maybe they don't recognize it, but we recognize the value of collaboration and just conversation, what that does to them versus we have their head buried, in the device and, and void of the
1990s
world around them.
again. This is awesome.
So it feels good. They're certainly having advantages, and we see some results of that. Like we see a decrease in conflict. We see a decrease, and this conflict has not gone away. Right. I don't think that ever goes away. But we see a decrease in those types of behaviors that we typically have seen before. Yeah. But it still remains to be seen. We've only been a year and a half, 2 years into this practice.
Interesting.
So we'll still keep moving in this direction.
Well, as somewhat of a mental health professional or child development, that's the right call. Because unfettered access is the wrong call.
Yes.
Right? It's just the wrong call. And again, I'm not trying to be old man on the porch moment here. I got my phone on my hip 24/7 with my work, but it's the wrong call. Like we know already, and the data is starting to really back up what this does to kids' brains and their social ability. So I love that. So any school that comes out with a relatively hard line on that, I think, is making the right call for kids.
Absolutely.
Countering that point, I guess, and maybe not specific to the phones, but I remember we had on Kevin Poirier, our 6th episode, which was 2.5 years ago now. It was pretty crazy.
It's part of the
Charlotte
CMS.
Mecklenburg school system. Anyway, I asked him this question, and I'm going to ask you the same one. Again, not specific to the phone, but technology as a whole. Are there any benefits? I'm sure there are, as obviously the advent of social media. I'm sure you're using it for good in a way. What are some of the benefits as far as maybe it's an app that the kids use, something along those lines, where it's actually being used in a positive form?
Yeah, I think technology in general is a great thing, and I'm going to be more specific. The advent of artificial intelligence, which is a big topic for us right now, just in public education, to learn how do we navigate this space, because that's we're behind the 8 ball with that.
Yeah.
In all
Oh, yeah.
honesty, and I'm not talking about just Rock Hill. I'm talking about just like in education, we're behind the 8 ball. I think our kids are way more advanced than we are, but the ability, the advantage of this is that it is the way of the world, and the kids have to know how to navigate that world and how to use it to be more efficient with your time and how to, make product. The balance is how do you still allow kids to be critical thinkers and to be able to augment, and manipulate that technology for the benefit. So we're in this little funky space of how does access allow kids to use it, because they're going to be in career fields that's going to require this skill set, and we can't ignore it. We can't say, let's turn a blind eye to it, because that's going to be, look, we have work industries right now and career clusters we're trying to prepare kids for, and in 1 year, that's all going to change again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue to evolve over time.
Yeah.
So we got to know how to have our kids think about that technology more than how to use it,
Yeah, again, dating me a little bit, but I'd always, we would not be allowed to use calculators because they'd say,
Absolutely.
and I'd say, why not? And they'd say, well, you're never going to have a calculator all the time on your phone. I want to go back and tell my 3rd grade teacher, I'm like, I have the internet on my, like I have an encyclopedia, everything, I have all the cheat codes here, but you still need to, shape the brain to learn how to learn.
Yes.
But at the same time, doing pencil and paper, it is an interesting time, and I think about, my gosh, like my 5-year-old, what is the world going to be like when he's 18 and he enters into, I have no clue.
I want to give a shout out to Sullivan Middle School as an example. Sullivan Middle School and the leadership over there, they have a structure where kids don't have access to any technology, particularly laptops, until the last 10 minutes of class.
I love that.
Then that's when they allow them to pull their laptops out and to maybe get engaged in maybe some early homework or whatever, right? But even though we are a one-on-one device system, that leadership has said it's important that our kids manipulate paper, pencil,
Yeah.
It is.
engage in critical thinking through collaboration and thought. And we'll let the technology be a tool, but it's not going to be your only access to the learning. And I think that's one example of how to balance
and
how to
integration.
balance that integration.
Okay.
So it doesn't replace the critical thinking. It's just a tool that we can use, and we recognize it's over there. But we're gonna work on making sure the brain knows how to think.
Yeah, right.
I read something that said paper to pen is one of the best tools to keep your brain strong and
Interesting.
prevent those brain rot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about parents, and I'd also love for you to talk a little bit about the workforce, because again, like the adults who take care of the kids, and particularly the parents. I mean, that's who they're going home to, and that's who's going to sustain either a kid's progress or potentially, whether intentionally or not, sustain a kid's struggles. What does Rock Hill do, you think, uniquely to engage parents? One of my little bugaboos, I think sometimes we are putting so much on schools to be everything to everybody, to every child. You have to be therapists, you have to be teachers, you have to be security officers, you have to be parents, you have to be... And at some point, we as a society have to say, I don't think that, we're getting into role confusion here, and it's not about judging parents,
Right.
it's about getting them engaged. So
Right. Yeah, there's only so much, any one school system or district can do. That's where you need collaboration, right? You need to be able to work with a Catawba Regional Workforce Development that can partner with you to communicate when there's career industry needs and openings and trainings, and you partner with a York Tech community college that can talk about career pathways that people can, not just our students, I'm talking about families as well.
Yeah.
That's how Parent University exists right now in Rock Hill Schools, right at Bellevue, at the old Bellevue Elementary Center. That kind of collaboration allows parents to come in, get necessary training around career placement and.
So what's Parent University?
Yeah,
what's
Parent
that?
University. It's exactly that. It's a way for parents to come in and get training and work on like how to be a best support system for your child. Right, learning everything from how to navigate an IEP meeting, which is for students with disabilities. How to, what are the resources in your community that you can tap into. We know that students who have a more established home life, who are not coming home with worries of like where my meal's coming from and where do I stay, those foundations allow kids to be able to focus more on what they got to do academically in school. So that filler, that type of support, is what our attempt is to kind of give parents a firm foundation to be a better, place for their kids. It's not a place to teach a parent how to love their child. They've got that down pat, right?
Yeah.
Parents send us the best who they have, right? And so that's our focus with that as well. We want to just be able to plug the holes for them that they may need. If you need to understand where resources are for utilities, then that's where this exists for them. But Parent Universe is a great outlet and resource for our parents.
Well, it's complicated. It's overwhelming to be a parent of a kid in school, and especially a kid with any kind of special needs or unique challenges. It's even more daunting, and particularly if you're a parent who maybe grew up assuming that systems are going to judge you for what so your natural is probably just avoidance versus engagement, right?
Absolutely, that's you've hit it right on the head. I mean, and what we have to do, our job, our task is to not do that, right? We've got to make sure that we welcome all parents, and we don't mirror some of the trauma they may have experienced when they were students in school, right? So that trust is vital. I was talking with Bree about MST. One of the core of the things I fell in love with MST was that's in-home therapy. They're going to come and work with the child. The whole family's going to work together. It's hard to accept that if there's not a trust there.
Absolutely.
Right? I feel like you're going to judge me. You're going to talk about me.
Right.
But if that parent trusts me as a school official, they I trust Dr. Grant. He wants what's best for me. I know him. Then they're more willing to accept that support that MST provides through New Hope. Right.
Yeah, and we're not coming to remove kids. We're not coming to judge how your living room works.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. And we all have stuff.
Absolutely.
It's I think about if, and I started my career off doing MST, but just the thought of somebody coming into my home or me going, after work, somebody could be in there and saying,
That's daunting.
and how resistant I would be to that, just immediately. I just think about that all the time, and so that's what we try to hire therapists who you teach people how to do better therapy. You can't necessarily teach them how to be better people.
Sure.
So we just try to hire people who are really, really good people and really care a lot. We'll teach you the model, we'll teach you the tools, but we just try to hire really good, non-judgmental human beings.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that.
So I'd say fundamentally, Stuff That Matters is an optimistic podcast, even though we talk about heavy issues. What's got you hopeful, over the next 2 to 5 years, either with what's going on in Rock Hill and how the community's evolving, or education in general? What's got you hopeful?
I tell you what's got me hopeful, man, it's the kids, the students. Students are, I spend a lot of time, I try not to, looking at the news media and all the noise in the world, and you would think that it's just everything's going to, it's on fire, right? But man, young people are so resilient, especially young people now. They're so resilient, they're so bright, they're so innovative. They think about a lot of different things, and they can do a lot of it. Their schedules are, I don't know how they do, their afternoon schedule is so packed with all the different things that they're doing, from sports and performing arts and having a job and still getting up and coming the next day to school and just plowing through it. And they got so many other pressures, and they still are resistant. They're still very resilient. They give me hope. They give me hope. I think about the students at Aspire Academy right now, who are middle and high school kids who are there because they make some bad choices in life, right? But they recognize that choice didn't define them, and they're showing up and they're doing all the great things to make themselves better and to prove that they can be better students, and they're trying to become better people. And the fact that they keep showing up gives me hope. It gives me hope, and I just love it. You got to come out and visit, man. It's really a great environment, and so that's what keeps me inspired and gives me hope for the next day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, I know you got a busy schedule. Speaking of busy schedules, I know you got a busy one.
I wanted to touch on one thing with Carlos real fast.
for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is you've completed your first year as the executive director. Almost. Okay. The first time that we met, you told me your Goldfish Analogy.
Yes.
And I knew instantly, I was like, this is our people. Can you share a little bit of the Goldfish?
Yeah. Every meeting that we lead, we show an image. We show an image of this. It's a goldfish, and it's got strapped on its back is a shark fin, right? And it's not my image. I think I took it from somebody. I can't remember. I got to remember who that is. Give them some credit. But so it's not mine. It's not my proprietary property. But the image is it sets the vision for how we approach, how we support our kids. And so I always ask the adults, or who I'm in front of, how do you interpret this picture? And people will give things like, a lot of different answers to that. The ultimate thing is this goldfish is presenting himself as a shark because you can't see below the water, right? And what we're trying to do is be curious enough to look below the water to see what it really is.
Absolutely.
It could be a dangerous shark.
Yeah.
And no one enjoys going to the beach. So let me go pet that shark up there. But if we're curious enough about most of our kids, we know that some of our kids come to school having to wear that shark fin for protection to communicate something about being this fearful thing, so leave me alone. And so we create policies towards it, like to respond to the shark fin. And so we're trying to create policies and practices to respond to what's underneath that. That shark fin and that water edge there represents a lot of barriers, traumas, past experiences. And so we're trying to get through that to kind of respond to that goldfish, the true person that we need to see every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Matt has a saying that we lean into the population, to the kids that a lot of people don't want to, and that really hit home for me when you told me that the first time.
We have to, man. They're all
Absolutely.
important, man. They're all important, man. So
Well, usually I think that shark fin was developed to protect them from pain because they've already experienced pain, so they're assuming that there's only pain and that adults are going to let them down. And if you do the opposite of what a kid assumes that you're going to do, you just see the light bulb go on and they're like, okay, maybe not everybody.
it's like
And
this.
then maybe I'm different than I thought. And it just, there's nothing better than that. So
Yeah.
One of the things we're doing at Aspire, just as an example to what you said, is we're doing a book study right now. Dr. Steve Perry and Oprah Winfrey's book of What Happened to You. You've read this? So I've read it several times as well. And so we're doing this book study with our staff because we're trying to understand adolescent brain research.
Yep.
We're trying to understand the ACEs, adverse child experiences. We're trying to learn how to de-escalate. It's teach a lot of things about ourselves right now as adults. We're like having a really tough conversation. And as a matter of fact, part 2 of this series is tomorrow morning. And, we wrestle with this, right? And my point behind that is that one of the highlighting things that our staff pulled out of that was, students who are now, they were babies at one point and they got regulated when someone came to respond to them, to regulate them, rock them back and forth and show them the world can be a safe place.
Right.
And there's some students who didn't get that.
Right.
And so they've learned, I've got to carry this shark fin.
Right.
Because everyone's not safe.
There's danger
and I'm
around every corner.
and that's why I tear your classroom up.
Right.
That's why I came here and cussed you out when you got my bathroom pass.
Right.
Because I don't trust you.
No.
Not you individually.
Right.
I don't know you, but
Right.
you represent something.
And I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
hurt you before you hurt me. And when we understand that, then we can begin to say, okay, I'm not taking this personal.
Yeah.
Let me find out what happened to you versus me asking, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
That change in questioning just changes the whole game.
Changes
for us.
everything.
Does everything. So
Well, I love that. I love that you guys are reading that. Because again, I always say I don't think the goal is for every teacher to become a quasi-therapist.
Sure.
Teachers need to teach and educate, but we do need to understand
you got to understand.
our kids, and because it's a tough job, and God bless all of our educators out there because it's a tough job.
And the good news is that even students who, I'm sure we will end at some point, but the good news is that even when students' brains have been wired that particular way, don't trust, we can change the brain.
100%.
That's the walk away. Like we can change the brain, and we have a role in doing that.
Yeah.
Patrick's our wrap-up guy. So
We can keep going for probably another hour or two, but I severely misjudged how intricate of a setup it would be with 4 microphones in Visitation Room 4. I think we've outgrown this room potentially, especially if we're going to have 4 people on here on out. There's live episodes. I think this is only the second live in-person episode we've done.
Oh, wow.
And the first with 4 people. So, Carlos, thank you for being the guinea pig for this rendition of Stuff That Matters. My final question to you, and you've certainly been doing this for the last 30 minutes or so, but encapsulating your overall message. So for you, what is the stuff that matters?
The stuff that matters, man, is our children. The stuff that matters is our kids, our belief in them, and the overall idea of knowing that we can change the brain, man. That's what matters.
nice.
Absolutely.
Well, we're so glad you're back home in this community, making an impact, and again, we we live and swim in some tough things at New Hope and in general, but it's people like you and leaders like you that give us hope
Yeah,
and
thank you.
optimism. I genuinely believe our kids are going to grow up in a better world than we did. That's our job. That's our mandate as adults. And just thank you for all you're doing, and excited to watch your success and growth, because it's not just about you. It's going to mean that this system and this community is going to get better. And that's awesome. You got a lifelong friend and supporter at New Hope. So
Thank you.
thanks, Carlos. Thanks for sharing your
Absolutely.
passions with us, man.
Thank you.
Yes.